Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I seem to be experiencing a glitch with my presentation today. I seem to be having some issues with our stream. I scheduled another. I don't know what has happened, but I'm gonna press on anyway. I'm gonna press on anyway because I don't know what is happening at this time. But today we want to talk about self-care. Today we want to talk about self-care, and I am seeing something that I want to double check. I don't know what the problem is with our stream, but they have given me two programs, and so I don't know what is happening. But now we are going to be joining. So those who are hearing me, you join me here. Okay, good. I want to welcome everybody that is joining. Welcome everybody that's joining at this time. All right, so I'm going to welcome everybody who is joining me at this time, and I hope to have persons come on to the program because there seems to be a glitch somewhere there. All right, there seems to be a glitch somewhere there, and so LinkedIn seem to have done it again, but I'm on, so just share it with people. LinkedIn seem to have done it again. There seem to be some glitch every time we set these days. So I'm making sure that persons understand that I am on. All right, so making sure that persons know that I am on. All right, so today, as I said, we're going to talk about self-care, and we're going to talk about which I call the most underrated skill of leadership. And we're going to dive into it a little, and we're going to make sure that persons benefit despite the glitch. And so we are moving forward. For those who don't know me, I am Dr. Marcia Thomas. I'm a Christian leadership consultant, life and career coach, and I am a motivational speaker and an author. And I also help persons who are in their final year doing their dissertation. I help them to get it done from start to finish. So I coach those persons also in their career moves. All right. So leadership requires self-care. And that's the underrated skill of leadership that most people do not grab towards. And why is this so important? You lead teams as a leader, you show up for your family. That's your requirement. So while you're leading your teams and showing up for them and being there for them, you're also expected to show up and be there for your family. And you have to try to remain anchored in your faith while balancing all the responsibilities of being a wife, of being a mother, being a sister, being a leader in all aspects of life and also in your calling. And so sometimes self-care is the last thing on your mind. You miss your doctor's appointments, you miss your special occasions and special celebrations. You put yourself last. And that's not good. That's not good because self-care matters for your mind, for your body, and for your soul as a leader. And you want to understand that your calling also requires you to be healthy, a very healthy vessel, and not just healthy physically, but healthy mentally, healthy emotionally, spiritually, and physically. It must be a holistic well being and healthiness in you. Good morning, Margaret. Thanks for joining. I seem to have had a little glitch with linking the time slot. They are changing the time slot, but thank you for taking the time. Really appreciate you and all the others that are joining as they recognize what is happening. And so, as I said before, your calling requires you to be healthy, to be in your top game, to be at your A shape, and to function comfortably and well. You are not required to just keep going. Thank you for joining, Joseph. So appreciate you. All right. We also want to remember and understand, because some persons don't understand that self-care is spiritual and not just physical and emotional. And how is that? It means that you must understand that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit and that you are just a vessel to carry out the role that God established you to carry out even before you were born. And so, whatever roles and responsibilities you have, whatever position you are placed in, you are just a vessel. Your role doesn't define you, it is your purpose. And so, you must pay attention to your why rather than your what. And you must balance it so that you honor God mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally when carrying out your duty. And that's very important for Christian leaders in a secular workplace to understand. All right. So we're gonna ask you to send it out, Margaret and Joseph. Just let persons know that we are live. Persons in your network know that we are live because there is a glitch. Yes, there is a glitch. Very good, very true, Margaret. There is a glitch. It is saying starting soon. It has been doing it from last week. I don't know what the glitch is. I'm gonna try to have that rectified, but I'm not sure what the problem is. All right, thanks for that, Margaret. All right. So leadership and self-care is extremely important. So why is self-care considered spiritual and not just physical or emotional? Why is that so? We want to think about that. So those who are hearing me, please share in your network that we are on, although it says it will begin sometime later, but we are on. All right, so that's where we are. Why is self-care considered spiritual and not just physical or emotional? That's the answer that we want to have. I hope you're still hearing me. Joseph, I see that you're saying you're good to be here. Good morning, Leslie. Thanks for joining. There seemed to be a little glitch. For those who are just joining, we are looking at self-care. And we are saying it is the underrated skill that many leaders have. And self-care matters because there are so many persons pulling at you and you are to be so many things to all people, and especially in a crisis or especially in your day-to-day running of your institution, especially now when things are so complex and uncertain and appear quite chaotic. You can buckle under the strain, and we are saying that holistically we have to understand that self-care is not just physical self-care, it's not just bubble baths, and it's not just meeting a doctor's appointment, which is mostly things that you miss and the important family events that you find yourself missing. It is also spiritual and it is also mental and emotional. And we had said your body is a temple and you're to understand that. And so we are now saying Why is it such a spiritual? Why is it a spiritual thing? Because our bodies and our minds and spirits are vessels of God, as we had indicated before. And this makes us understand that we are required to carry the message, or we are to be reflections. And we are reflections of those around us. Yes, Leslie, we want them well. So, well, we must be. And we are in full agreement with that. We are reflections. We are lights. We are mirrors. And we must make sure that our bodies, our minds, and spirits are vessels for that. Thank you so much, my diva, connecting from Kenya. Very much so. Purpose alignment. Very, very much so. Thank all of you who are joining. I see everyone that's joining. We had a little glitch. All right. The next thing about self-care and why it is not just physical, emotional, or mental. It's that, and also spiritual. We want to stress why we say it is a self-care is a spiritual entity, as well as not just physical, emotional, and mental. We are saying that when we steward our health, when we become reflectors by stewarding our health, our emotions, and our time, using these very well, it is an act of worship and obedience to the one that gave us the gifts, that gave us the assignment, that make us who we are, and whose mission we are to fulfill as our sojourn here on earth. Good morning, Lisa. Thanks for joining. And so when we care for ourselves intentionally, we honor God who entrusted us with that purpose. And that is why it is spiritual, because our purpose, the fulfillment of our purpose, is aligned to how well we care ourselves. So we are able to function and to perform our duties. And also how we decide to nurture the soul and our commission and mission. And so it's really how we choose to communicate love to God and love to our fellow man. And also how we direct that love to ourselves. And that is why it is so important. All right. Leslie, thanks for that point. Self care is love and communicates, actually saying what I was saying. Self care is love and communicates that vibration to God. So he knows what to send, and he can also trust us. I want to add to that, Leslie. So he knows what to send because he knows he can trust us. And so self care is really that contract of love for God, love for yourself, and love for others. And as reflectors, how we direct that shows up in how we care ourselves. And so we teach people how to treat us by the way we treat ourselves, especially as leaders. And that is why so often leaders are taken for granted, because they project themselves like that, trying to be all things to all men, which you really can't. And that projection of missing your lunch, of not setting boundaries, of not being there for yourself, is ratified by your actions over and over. And this sends a message to people that you do not love yourself, you do not honor yourself, whether subtly or directly or by default. That comes out that you don't love yourself. And so let me see how far I can pull him down this destructive road. And so a lot of times, decisions you have to be making multiple decisions because you do not allow person, you macromanage also. When you have a distorted understanding of self-care in relation to love for others, love for yourself, and love for God, you miss and you do not perform your duties to your fullest ability and to your greatest God-given potential, because you are not required to love others more than yourself. The Bible says we are to love them as ourselves, and we must treat others the way we would want to be treated if the position was reversed. And so that gives us also the idea that in loving ourselves, we are now able to understand how we are to operate along the boundaries of treating others well, of pushing persons to love themselves, of allowing them to take the time off when they need it, and allowing them to make mistakes and to fail and to have errors, so that, and helping them to rejuvenate themselves and their minds by providing those support systems. But the question that you must ask yourself, and that many times leaders fail to ask, is who motivates the motivator? And it starts with you. You motivate the motivator many times. And so we must care for ourselves intentionally. When we do that, we honor God who entrusted us with purpose. And here is another important point that must be made. And I'm gonna put that out there very soon. Leslie, it's a good point. Further down in the discussion, we're gonna look at how we block those who carry a low vibration consistently. I love that, Leslie. It consistently, and we must be able to identify them because they trigger us. They trigger us. They truly trigger us. And we must know how we trigger them, because sometimes as leaders, because we do not care ourselves and because we are always there, we ourselves carry a low vibration consistently. And that low vibration is embedded in our spirit and slowly killing us, silently killing us, because we are not able to put ourselves at any high, because we have lost contact with ourselves. We have lost that heart connection with ourselves because we keep giving and not pouring in. We keep giving and not pouring in. Self care requires us to give and to also receive. And that's not a crime, it's not selfish. And so, how do we, as leaders, unplug? How do we get unplugged? And the first thing I want to say is that we rest intentionally and not just when we are exhausted. So, how do we get unplugged? We rest intentionally and not just when we are exhausted. Because when you're exhausted, there's no time for rest. No time for rest. When we are exhausted, we are not resting. Our body is saying, I am going to collapse, or you are going to kill me. The body is saying to you when you're extremely exhausted and you really can't put the next foot in front of each other. So your mind is really at work, but your body is saying, I can't step out today. I will not, because I'm not going to allow you to kill me. Your body says that. So we want to rest intentionally, not just when you're exhausted. And we are not divine to grind ourselves to a halt, neither or to the ground. Or are we expected to sacrifice our mental health for our assignment, our mission, our calling, our job, our roles, our responsibility? God doesn't expect us to do that. He himself demonstrated that. He took time out to fulfill his mission, and he withdrew to lonely places when he really got tired. And as I look at it, I want to say to you, you have to, when we talk about rest intentionally, you have to schedule your rest time, just like how you schedule your appointments and your meetings. That's it. You have to schedule your appointment, your rest time, your pause time, your break, your rejuvenation, your recalibration, just the way you schedule your meetings, because that is so important, because restoration is really a ministry also. Rest is a ministry. Self-care is a ministry. It's your ministry of honoring self, your ministry of understanding self, your ministry of building emotional intelligence and resilience in you, your ministry of showing up unapologetically and at your best. That's your ministry. And so you must schedule this pause, and you must schedule your withdrawal time and your rest time, just as how you schedule a meeting. And I want to put that in. The next thing that you need to do is that you need to protect your yes. You need to protect your yes. Some of us like to say yes because we feel that if we say no, we are going to, persons are going to be hurt, and persons are going to be affected. We get this feeling we are stuck in the indispensable illusion. I call it indispensable as leaders. We feel that if we don't show up for a family, if we don't make breakfast that morning, if we don't go to those extra shopping with them and go on the mall, if we don't say yes to those in our workplace, if they need our help and we say no, if we are asked to do something else and add something to our already packed calendar, if we're asked to meet an irrational deadline, it's really a blight on our performance. And so many of us feel guilty as leaders. I have been there, done that. And so we overcommit and we want to overperform, but you can't. Yes, Leslie, I used to feel guilty about it too. Not anymore. I am in full agreement with you. Not anymore. And so we have to understand that when you say no, it's not a blight on your performance, because effective leaders know that performance is always dependent on capacity. And if you can't, you just can't. And sometimes we're in that indispensable illusion that persons can't do without us, until we collapse and we realize that business goes on as usual in both our family and also in our professional space, because persons say it's not that I could not do it, it's because I was not allowed to do it. And since somebody was doing it for me and so willingly doing it, I did not mind. And Leslie has a point here that says no brings up the fear. No brings up the fear which triggers our own. All right. And that's it. We have to understand and protect our yes. How do we protect our yes? Every yes, I want you to look at it from this angle. Every yes that you say comes at a cost, whether it is your time or your health, mentally, emotionally, physically. Because as was said before, some people come with a low energy consistently. And when you say yes to them, you embrace that energy. And if yours was already low, you know it goes, that cells down, because some persons are not encouragers, they are burdeners, they are naysayers, they are joy killers, and they are in your workplace. And sometimes they are also in your home. So when you say yes, we want you to look at it costs you your time, your energy, your emotional space. And guess what? Sometimes it costs you money. Thank you for joining, Janine. Thank you, Frank. If you notice, I'm using two devices. All right. So it costs you your time, your energy, your emotional space, and unfortunately, sometimes it costs you your money. And so you can't afford to say yes to everything. You have to be intentional on how you say yes and to whom you say yes. If it is not aligned with your purpose, with your core values, with your goals, then you need to say no. It's a distraction. Thank you for joining. Millie, thank you so much for joining. So no matter how good it looks, you have to make sure that your calendar reflects your calling, and that it will lead you to your outcomes and also to who you're really supposed to serve. Because You really can't. And that's the thing, not every good thing or every opportunity is God's thing for you or God's opportunity. And so you if you consciously, intentionally, purposefully, and decisively says yes to what is required, then you will not have those types of distraction. They will be minimized. And so you will be able to fulfill your calling much more and much quicker than you can. So Leslie saying my body was taking a nap around the same time every day, whether I liked it or not. That's why the boundary is vital. Yes, yes. That's why the boundary is vital. So vital. I love this. So I had to schedule it on my calendar and not feel guilty about it. Very much so. That's why the boundary is vital. And sometimes when we don't set those boundaries and when we don't protect our yes, there comes that fear when we have to say no, because we have to find an excuse or we have to find a way to say no that persons are not offended. And sometimes we find ourselves saying yes to the wrong person. So when the right persons come along, you are so bogged down, you are putting a restraint, you have so changed yourself, because effective leaders are committed to their word. They are people of their word, and they try to do what they say they will do. And so that's it. So Lisa, I understand what you're saying, because your body was taking a nap around the same time every day and so on. Scheduling was important. Leslie says she used her tuition to recognize those who have a dark energy. And that's where I'm standing. That's where I'm standing with you. We must use our intuition because we have it. And when we are actually at our peak of self-care, we are at that high vibration. We are really at that high vibration. Nice to have you, Curtis. I had a glitch this morning, yes. So you had to go to the profile to join. So sorry about that. It's the same thing happened last week. And so we are here. And so that's where we are at. And so we must, as he said here, Lisa, we must allow smart to take over. Yes, we must allow smart to take over, and smart comes in when we actually accept that we know is that word that can be said, and that no doesn't mean that we are isolating persons. No doesn't mean that we are pushing them away. No doesn't mean that we are not recognizing their efforts and we are not celebrating them. No means that I cannot do it at this time, or I'm not the best person to solve your problem at this time. Or it is that we are saying you are not a part of the calling. You're a distraction, really, but I can refer you to someone else. So we must protect our yes. We must know who we are saying yes to, what we are saying yes to, and we must complete it. We must understand what is the God thing or opportunity rather than a good thing or a good opportunity. And so when we protect our yes, we're able to do that. Then the third thing I want us to do is to understand that we have to fuel our spirit before we feed into others. A lot of leaders feel that they can run on empty, and that's not so. We cannot run on empty, and God does not expect us to run on empty. And he himself did not run on empty. Every now and then he puts himself out there at a quiet space where he could commune with his father. You see, some of us as leaders feel that God has given us a mandate to carry the world, but he has not. He has not given us a mandate to carry the world. He's not asking us to do that. What he's asking us to do is to serve well in our world. And so when you fuel your spirit before you pour into people, you are able to become self-aware. You are able to know your limitations, how you trigger yourself, what triggers you and how you trigger others. You're also able to appreciate and accept those things that you can't change. And you also get the wisdom to know the difference. And so we have to bear those things in mind, because the fact is, and the reality is, whether we want to accept it or not. Thank you for joining, John and Earl. Thank you so much. What we want to accept And the fact is, the truth is, you cannot give what you don't have. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Cannot pour from an empty cup. And you cannot use what you don't know that you have. And I want that to sink in. You can't use what you don't know you have. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And you cannot function on empty. When a car needs gas, it has to get gas because at some point it's going to stop on you. It's the same thing. When you need rest, when you need clarity, when you need support, you cannot function at your peak. It diminishes your performance and the value that you're adding to people, and it takes away from you. And Leslie says, I have a knock on my calendar. Each day it has the same value as family and clients. Very good. Thanks for joining, Annie. We had a little glitch. I'm happy that Lisa shared the link. For those who are just joining, we're talking about purposeful self-care for leaders. We have looked at it as being spiritual because it is really honoring self, honoring God, and honoring your fellow men, knowing how to the value you must place on yourself, on others, and the value that God has placed on us, and honoring that through our roles, responsibilities, and activities. We have also looked at how to rest, how to protect your no, and now we're at the bottom that says you must fuel your spirit before you feed others. And I'm saying you cannot pour from an empty cup, neither can you run on empty, and neither can you use what you don't know you have. And so if you're exhausted, we were making that point mentally, emotionally, physically, because of the different aspect of life and how life presents itself, because life is not static, it is dynamic. Today you have a good day, tomorrow you might just have a bad day. Today all your family members are intact, and tomorrow you might just get bad news. And you can also be intact today, going on in your miracle way, and then you find yourself in a crisis, and you wonder, how did it get to this? You might just be walking and you slip, you pull terrible muscles, and you are on your back and gonna be there for another 4 or 5 months. And as we say, you teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. And so we want to understand that there are some persons who pour into others negatively, low energy. And we want to understand that as a leader, you can find yourself at that end as much as you find that being all things to all men, others pouring their negative and low energy into you. And Leslie has made a point too, that empty cup pour only emptiness. And that's a solid point. And there's another extreme, Leslie, that I want to put here, that you can't, some of us in fighting our own self-care, we become a weapon of destruction for ourselves because we are too positive. You see, toxic positivity doesn't cut it. We must tell persons the truth, and we must make them understand that what you're doing is hurting others, or you're acting irresponsible, or this will not work for this time. Toxic positivity, where we see the good in everything, even when the blind can see that it's not going to work, can also be detrimental to our self-care. Nobody can run on high every single day of their life. There are some things that will cause you to be down and cause you to reevaluate your position. And there are some things that will cause you to move away from where you are because it does not add value to you. It doesn't serve your purpose. And the productivity and comfort illusion, where it pays my bills. And so I must subject myself to the condescension that I am experiencing, to the toxic environment that I now find myself in, and to the way that I am being used by others to their own end. And I'm sacrificed for person's personal ambition is a completely different thing. And we must recognize that and That's one of the ways that we fuel our spirit before we feed into others. Accepting what we cannot change, facing the truth about ourselves and our situation, and also preparing for whatever change need to be done, because we now have wisdom to know the difference. And I think Leslie made that point where the universe speaks to us, and we use what now becomes intuition and our insight to serve ourselves, to fuel ourselves. So we become more self-aware, and we become more attached to our purpose, our why, rather than to our what. And so we move in that direction. Another point that we want to make, Michelle, thank you for joining. Yes, thank you for joining. Is that your wisdom and your leadership and your peace comes from your overflow. How much you pour into yourself, and how your support group pours into you, how your destiny helpers keep you on track and keep you balanced, how your action plan and your goals and your vision, your purpose vision pulls you together. And so your purpose statement is important as a fuel. Your goals are important, your outcomes, your understanding. So you must start your day with your meditation. Start your day with your meditation. And when I say meditation, you spend time with yourself and with God, because none of us brought ourselves here, and none of us are here by accident. Regardless of the passage through which we enter this earth, none of us are here by accident. Because before we were born, we were predestined and pre-approved and pre-designed to carry out certain mission. Your assignment is not my assignment, and my assignment is not your assignment. We come together, we collaborate, and we are put together to fit. But each of us have our individual and unique calling and assignment, and we must understand that. And so we are not expected to do, we are born to do anything, but we are not expected to do everything, because all of us are given the same amount when we enter this earth, a blank state. We come here as a child with a blank brain, but we come with our natural gifts and talents. And even when a baby is born in another 4 or 5 weeks, persons see clearly as early as 6 weeks the indication of what is unique about this child, what is very unique. And when the personality begins to form, and there are consistent traits of character and skills and abilities, we recognize them and we set them apart. We are to channel it just the way we channel those persons who are wise enough, their children, your family members, your co-workers, in the right direction. That is how you must channel your gifts, your unique talents, and so on. You must know your limitations and what you can't do. Some of us want to do what everybody else is doing, and we become disconnected and disjointed, because what everybody else is doing is not what we are required to do. And so we miss what we are to be doing, and we put our purpose in dormancy, or we derail our purpose because this is such a good idea, this is a way that I can make money, this is, but purpose is not about that. Purpose is not about that. We also want to make sure that we put our strategic plans together, we put our ideas together, and we also want to make sure that we do not start our day with notification, with WhatsApp messages, with voice messages or call. Those can kill your spirit before you start, because you can open the wrong WhatsApp message, you can look at the wrong notification, and so on. That's not how you start your day. You start your day with your meditation, meaning that you nurture your soul and yourself, and you also can do your meditation with others. You pray because you need wisdom to start your day, and you plan your day intentionally. Sometimes what you have put out as the 5 crucial emergency things and miscellaneous, the miscellaneous sometimes come to the top as the emergency, because you never expected to have a puncture tire, and you never expected that when you got to your workplace that there would be a spill or there would be some flooding. You did not expect that 3 persons would call out sick because they went out to celebrate with each other the birthday and they got food poisoning. Those are issues that come up, but and they were not intentional. You didn't plan them in your day, because some things you can't take them off a shelf. It's called life, and life happens, and we live life in the present. If we are able to fuel our spirit, we have the resilience, we have the strength, mentally, physically, emotionally, to deal with those issues and not have them derail us. So that is what we mean when we say that. So God does not, we are not created to take up all the burdens in the world, and we must also learn to delegate. And so thrilling others. When you thrill yourself and you understand that you're human and that you can't do everything and that you will make mistakes, you are able to feed that into others and you're able to support others. You're able to collaborate and not compete. You're able to accept difference and you're able to reason with purpose. We are all born with the same purpose, which is to serve, very much so, because our purpose leads us to do that: serve, impact, and grow. Serve, impact, and grow. That's what our purpose makes us do. And when I speak to my clients, I pull them into that. To serve, I show them how can you serve and how can you inspire, and how do you grow, because that must be the result of service. The same purpose, that is the result of purpose: impacting, serving, and growing, and not necessarily in that order also. So what is it that I was born to do? Who am I born to serve? And how am I expected or supposed to serve them is one of the activities that I have pulled into my program. When that is rectified, we move into doing what we call our purpose action plan. And then we move into what we call our research. We get into our environment. We know exactly what that is because we would have aligned it with our spiritual gifts and with our purpose alignment audit. So we see where we are. That's what they do. Then they look at the spiritual gifts, your natural gifting and your calling. We put that all together into what you are doing or what you want to do. We integrate it properly. We are very realistic about that. And then we now take the steps to see how we can actually drill down into that and serve where we are or outside of what we are, or in a brilliant new business idea, or whatever it is that you have. And so I've had clients, even recently, that whose testimonial I posted, who realized that Flourish is what she really loves. She's a teacher, but she loves the design of craftsmanship, which was her first gift, and she found that she did it as a hobby. She felt guilty charging for her floral arrangements, her corsages, her wreaths, and so on. But she got to put it at the forefront. So she's still teaching, but that is the forefront. And she has explained how happy she is. In fact, she is so busy you can't get her nowadays, just that by rearranging certain things, putting it into perspective and doing that. And I have clients who realize that when they sat down and began the self-care, they realized that where they are in business is not what they want to be. They really wanted to be in service, giving care to the age. And so they are now in that position. And so we want to understand that that is where it carries you. Self-care is very important. And when you get unplugged, your purpose becomes eliminated. The path becomes clearer. Your confidence is increased because that is the clarity. And so we move on. Are we money first, people second, or are we people first, money second? Most of the time we are in a we have an illusion, Leslie. Let me put it like that, because money is important and money is necessary to pay our bills. And so a lot of us are in the money first age where we strive for that because we have been schooled that it is the answer to all our problems. But it is people. When we invest in people and we invest in ourselves, we will acquire what we need to pull us through, which can be money, can be opportunities, because it can also be openings for doors where we can actually generate the income that we are. What I find about purpose is that when you are aligned to your divine calling and what it is, then you don't lack money. But you have to invest in people. I am for people first. You have to invest in people. You have to invest in yourself. And in an investment doesn't mean that you necessarily spend money. You do another course, you get another certificate. No. Investment for me is that when you are neatly set in your calling, then everything comes after. And some people don't believe that, but every single thing comes after: peace of mind, profits, freedom. And that is why what I do in my coaching for those persons who I coach is a free model. At the end of it, you must be free: free to think, free to be happy, free to spend time with your family, free enough that you are not worried about tomorrow. Free. And freedom doesn't always come with money. The law of rhythm, The down will always be followed by an up. I love that. I think I want to keep that because the law of rhythm. I love the law of rhythm so much. One of the days we're gonna have to come with you, Leslie, if you don't mind, and we're gonna explore the law of rhythm. It's something that I love very much. And there is a saying also as we relate to the law of rhythm that we have in the Caribbean and in Jamaica that anything that goes up must come down. So that's it. All right, so let's look at the challenge. What is the challenge I want to give you today as I end? You take 15 to 30 minutes to sit with God, to breathe, to journal, to stretch, to reflect. And it depends on where you are at that stage. If it is a time what you need to sit with God, you need to do that. So we're not saying you necessarily do it in this order or you do all of them every day. I tend to do that. I tend to sit with God as a Christian leadership consultant, life and career coach, and as a Christian all my life too. I sit with God. I spend time with Him in the mornings, quality time, and ask Him to pour into me so I know my direction for the day, what is to happen. I know even how to expect some of the things that are going to be challenges. I am prepared for a crisis. And it doesn't mean that when a crisis come up, you are able, you have all of what you need to deal with it. What it means is that you're not surprised because you expect that anything can happen. Yes, money is tender, it's not love. Very much so. Very much so. It is the love of money. Very much so, Leslie. It's a tender. It's not, yes, not a love. All right. And so we might have to take time out, schedule time out to breathe. We need a breather. So we know that given the nature of our job, every hour we might need to take a break because some jobs are really strenuous on the brain, some are strenuous on the body, and some are strenuous on the emotion. For example, nurse might have patients or so that's not doing well, and that can be strenuous on the body, the emotion, sorry, and they suffer from compassion fatigue. You might have a job where you're in construction or you have to be lifting heavy things in the post office and so on. That is a drain on your physical. All right. And then you might have mentally. So you're in the accounting department and it can take a toll on you mentally. You need to know if you are going to take a break of 5 minutes or 15 minutes every hour on the hour every 3 hours. It depends on you. So you might have to take that to breathe. And then some of us have to journal for many reasons. We journal. And some, because of your body type, because of the nature of your job, you want to take the time to stretch. That is self-care. You want to take the time to stretch. Reflect, for me, is not optional. You must reflect at the end of the day. You must give an account for your calling and for your purpose. You must see to what extent you helped somebody with your skills and natural talents, how you changed an outcome, how you made the impact meaningful, how did you allow persons to grow, how did you grow, what inspired you, and how did you inspire others, what's the impact that you have, how did you serve, and who served you. You want to do that as a reflection, and so that reflect is not optional for me, it is a must. All right, so we want to look at, after you do all of that, if you're ready now for clarity and for your purpose alignment, how to align through self-care, then you want to complete your purpose alignment audit and you want to book your soul sync session, which for me is a sacred space to reset, refocus, and reconnect with your purpose. I offer that in a group coaching session or a 3 months program that is called your Purpose Alignment Accelerator. And so, whichever of those programs you want to become a part of. So, I offer a 3 months program, and in that is embedded a group coaching if that's what you require based on the results of your purpose alignment audit. If you require me to help you for more 1 month to give you that support based on where you are on your purpose alignment, or if you want to do your expansive 3 months program where you take it from beginning to end, that's there for you. The takeaways I want you to have from this is that you matter, your calling matters, and your self-care is a part of your calling. And so I say to you, thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your participation. May your Tuesday be peaceful, intentional, and purposeful, and also have a great week. And so I want to thank everyone who took time out of their busy schedule and who participated, who supported me in the glitch. Sean, I see you. I never got a chance to say welcome. Sean, you're there. I see you, Marie. Paul, thanks for joining. You're there. And there are some persons who joined on YouTube. Curtis, I did say yes. Lisa, Leslie, Margaret, and my linking user. I'm not sure if that is Alison at any time. All right. And so there we are. Joseph, thank you so much. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Have a great day.